This week's episode of Love Nation is brought to you by the Intercontinental Boston
and thedatingrevolution.com.
Hello and welcome to Love Nation. I'm Thomas Edwards.
And I'm Laurie Davis.
Love Nation covers emerging trends in the dating world. And this week we're talking about
Southpaws.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Southpaws are also lefties, which is
us.
Yeah, and there are actually a lot of lefties.
It's not just us. No.
Definitely not us.
In fact, Microtrends in 2009 said that it was estimated that there were 1 in 10 people were lefties.
Which is a lot in the world.
That's a lot.
It's a lot of lefties. And, over the course of time, if you were a lefty or anything on the left, it was seen as a bad thing. And if you can trace it to language origins, where Latin, the word for left was sinister. The word for left in French is gauche, which actually means awkward. So you can trace it to other various languages as well as to why left is bad.
Do you think we're sinister and awkward?
I mean, I have an evil side, but I would call myself sinister.
You have an evil side?
Oh, it's a bad side, but
I'm only sweet.
Oh, okay. All right. So,
and if you trace it back, if you remember back in the day in school, there was this whole, hand reorientation thing where the nuns would slap the wrist of the people that were lefties. It was very frowned upon to be that individual. They wanted everyone to be a righty.
Even in my class, I was the only person that was left-handed in my class, and I used to write a really unique way. And every time we took a test, my teacher would walk by and literally fix my paper and then remove the pencil from my left hand and put it on the desk in order to get me to write right-handed.
I remember that when I started to write also, it was a big deal. My parents met with the teacher to talk about how I was becoming a lefty.
Yeah, it's so weird, right?
Right. However, UCLA did a study, and twice as many of 30-year-olds are lefties as 60-year-olds. So it's definitely becoming something that is more socially acceptable these days. And the parents, parents who are 30 are now having children. And so they're lefties, and they think it's okay that their children are lefties. And in our society, people are more all about expressing individuality in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, and here's the really, really cool stat. It's really interesting. Stanley Coren, who's a psychologist at the University of British Columbia, reported that older moms are more likely to give birth to a lefty. And actually, women over 40 are 128% more likely to have a child who is lefty.
That's crazy.
It's sick. That is amazing. And as people are actually, getting married late, having children late, so there will be more and more lefties, coming out of the woodworks as time goes on.
Absolutely.
So you're probably wondering, how can being a lefty possibly impact your dating life? But in fact, it can. When it comes to more specific things, you can talk about dinner. As a lefty, I like to use this hand to kind of maneuver. If you're a righty and you're sitting on the left of me, that could become a problem. So just being spatially aware of who you're with and what their tendencies are physically. And also, you can take that into the bedroom as well, and in more of an intimate environment, kind of figure out what people are more comfortable with depending on what side they're on, especially when it comes to sleeping.
Right, totally. And, also lefties are known for being really creative, and you probably reflect your creativity in maybe your career choice, definitely your hobbies. But one of the other things that you can do is translate that to your relationship life also. Be more creative with gifts that you're giving. Mm-hmm. Get crafty.
Yeah. If
writing is your thing, maybe write handwritten notes.
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of things that you can do to translate your creativity.
Yeah, and when it comes to communication and understanding one another, if you're dating someone who's a lefty, or if you're both lefties, get an understanding of how you actually process things or think about things. If you're a visual person, then maybe things like that will be able to help you communicate better. And so when situations arise where you need to understand where someone else is coming from, you can use their tendencies to better evaluate and understand their situation.
So, for example, maybe text messaging might not be the best mode of communication if you get into a position where you're being passive aggressive, maybe you should rather talk about it in person if it's more of like if you're into visual stimulation, right?
Yeah.
So
Financially
also can really impact you. For example, now you're in a relationship and you begin living together. So who's going to be the best one to take care of your finances? What are your systems for keeping your finances? Organization is also a huge thing.
Yeah.
So things like that, you know, if you understand a little bit about how right-brainers work, then you can do those things smoother.
Definitely. All right, so before we get into our email, which I heard was a good one,
yes,
we're going to talk about our sponsors. Once again, we want to thank Intercontinental Boston's exclusive hotspot, Rumba, which is also the home of Love Nation. Rumba has been named among the top 100 bars in the U.S. by Food & Wine magazine, their Cocktails '09 book. Rumba was also voted Best Hotel Lounge of 2009, Best Hotel Bar 2008, Boston's Best Kept Secret 2007 by The Improper Bostonian, and Best of the Nude 2007 by Boston Globe magazine. So highly awarded venue this place is. So check it out. Thank you, Intercontinental Boston, for allowing us to be here.
And our other sponsor is thedatingrevolution.com. It was created to democratize online dating. Their proactive filters and color-coded search results ensure that you contact and are only contacted by the best quality matches. From reporting members for dishonesty to community-based structure, which is coming soon, their site is uniquely designed to return power to the daters.
So, speaking of online dating,
yes,
it sounds like our email has something to do with that.
It does. So our email this week is very interesting. It is something that I so commonly get asked, which is, what's the best online dating site? So you're in luck because you're talking to the founder of eFlirt Expert. However, you're not in luck because it's too broad of a question. Every site has its own unique crowd. So I can't say that, you know, this site or that site is the best one of all, because it totally depends upon your personality and what you're looking for. And the other thing is that online dating varies geographically too. So one online dating site has one crowd in a certain city. In another city, it's a little bit different sometimes. So with that said, I can give you some broad strokes though. For example, eHarmony and Chemistry, they're more relationship oriented, they're personality driven, more serious matches that you're going to find on there. You can't search your matches on those sites. They're given to you. So keep that in mind. Depends on how much control you want over the situation. To the other extreme, there's OkCupid, right, which is more of a free-spirited sort of crowd. Again, depends upon the city. But, you know, for example, in New York, it's more of like a Brooklyn, edgy sort of crowd on there. And there's a new site coming out, and it's called How About We, only in New York. And that allows you to propose specific dates. How about we ... walk across the Brooklyn Bridge? How about we, you know, go to the Blue Note and see a show? So it really depends on what you're looking for and what your style is, whether you want to propose a how about we, and that would be really fun to you, or whether you want them to give you your own matches. So I know that wasn't very specific. However, what I will do for you is, if you email us again and tell us what you're looking for and what your personality's like, I am happy to be more specific, and your city, happy to be more specific and give you very tailored advice.
And as someone who has never done online dating, I agree with everything she says. I just trust what she says.
Well, thanks.
But, you know, if I was someone who was looking into online dating, I mean, there's a plethora of sites out there, and obviously it would be up to my personality, where I live, what I'm looking for, regards of, you know, different personality traits, or also if I'm looking for a relationship, am I looking for marriage, am I looking for a hookup, one night stand, an affair. The list goes on, and it's totally out there. And so, you know, once you have those things defined, you know, there is a site out there that's almost perfect for you.
And one of the things that you can do also is, say it's a paid site, you can join the site, go through the whole process to the point where you'll start getting matches and being able to search through your matches before you pay. just don't take that last step until you look through and see who your matches are, because if you're not finding people that you like on there, it's probably not the site for you.
Yeah. All right, that's awesome. Yeah, so email back, and we'll be able to give you more.
In a few episodes.
Yeah, definitely. So that wraps up this episode of Love Nation. If you want to follow us on Twitter. I'm your wingman.
I'm eFlirt Expert.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See you then.